I'd been with Chris for 7 years. He was getting married to a beautiful, high-class Omega. A sugar daddy arrangement like ours should have just ended naturally. But Chris said I could ask him for one last thing. Wiping the sweat from my brow, I struggled to drag the heavy suitcase outside. His words made me pause. Huh? Don't worry about it. We're buddies, no need to be formal. I found out Chris was getting married from the news. The tall man had his arm around a smaller, more delicate-looking man, his face blank for the cameras. Yes, we're getting married. I patiently watched the entire press conference before turning off the TV. Only after it was off did a shiver run down my spine. I knew it. A man with his arm around another man's waist still looks pretty weird. I zoned out for a moment, then suddenly remembered Chris would be home soon, so I rushed to the kitchen to start dinner. By the time Chris got back, I had a 4-course meal with soup ready. At the table, I wanted to ask him about the engagement, but then I remembered his rule about no talking during meals and quietly shut my mouth. In the end, he was the one who broke the silence. What's wrong? I've never seen you this quiet during dinner. With his permission, I finally spoke up. Chris, you're getting married? He nodded, but that was it. I couldn't make heads or tails of it. So what about me? Chris stopped eating and looked up at me, a little puzzled. What about you? It has nothing to do with you. You'll keep living here. I'll arrange another house for him. I sighed. I just couldn't get used to how ridiculously dramatic this world was. I tried to talk some sense into Chris. Since you're getting married, you should make a clean break with me. How can you wrong the other guy like that? Chris frowned, clearly not understanding. What do you mean? You want to leave me? Realizing his alpha male complex was about to flare up, I quickly tried to calm him down. No, that's not it. I mean, my presence will be really bad for your marriage. And your marriage is about the alliance between 2 major companies. You have to take it seriously. This reasonable argument seemed to get through to him. His brow slowly unfurrowed. That makes sense. I started to relax, but then his tone shifted abruptly. But I don't want to be separated from you. Huh? You like me or something? The question made Chris freeze completely. After a long moment, he finally managed to say, You're my Omega. I just waved my hand dismissively. And what's the big deal? It's not like you gave me a permanent mark. Chris and I stared at each other. He looked flustered, but I was completely unfazed. Still no, I don't agree. Knowing it was pointless to argue with him, I just pouted and dropped it. He might not agree, but plenty of other people would. I don't know what got into Chris that night, but he was incredibly clingy. He wouldn't even take a shower, just insisted on staying right next to me. I was exhausted and too lazy to ask him what was wrong. The next day, he wanted to take the day off, but I shooed him out the door. Go make some money. A man's got to go out and conquer the world, you know? Chris scowled as he slowly buttoned his shirt, fumbling with each one. It was frustrating to watch, so I pulled him closer and did it for him in a flash. Stop sulking and get to work. Don't waste your youth wallowing in this stuff. Chris's expression soured even more as he stalked away. If it didn't completely violate his whole domineering CEO persona, I'd almost suspect he was going to look back every few steps. I got up, washed up, got dressed, and headed out. Of course, I wasn't going to work. I was going to pay a visit to Chris's parents. Before entering the Russell family mansion, I made a point to stomp my feet a few times, just to make sure the soles of my shoes were soft enough. Just as I expected, after I walked in, no one offered me a seat. I could only stand in the living room, bored, staring at my toes. About an hour later, Chris's mother finally made her grand entrance. What are you here for? Mrs. Russell, I'm sure you wouldn't want the world to find out that your soon-to-be-married son is secretly hiding an illegitimate little lover. Would you? God, that sounded so cheesy and old school. This world was really rubbing off on me. What do you want? The woman, who had been looking down her nose at me with disdain, finally frowned and lowered her chin to look at me properly. I want Chris to kick me out, and for you to help me find a job. That's it? Mrs. Russell was a little surprised. I was a little surprised too. Is that not enough? How about you throw in $5 million? You're insatiable. There it is. She just had to get the insult in to feel better. Huh? I just went with the flow. Fine, a little less then. We can talk. In the end, we settled on the terms. Kick me out and give me 4,005,000. I left clutching the bank card, feeling satisfied. Aside from my feet hurting from standing for so long, it was a pretty fruitful trip. Now all I had to do was wait for Chris to kick me out. Mrs. Russell was a pain to talk to, but she was surprisingly efficient. Chris didn't come home that night. He just called around 10 to tell me to go to bed early. I cheerfully pretended I had no idea what was going on and even replied with a good night. But unexpectedly, a whole week went by and Chris still hadn't come back. Was abandoning me really that hard for him to accept? When I finally saw him again, he had a bruise on his face and didn't look so good. The Russell family servants who came with him started packing my things the moment they walked in. I knew what they were doing, so I didn't make a scene or ask a bunch of questions. I just gently touched the bruise on Chris's face. How did this happen? Does it hurt? He lowered his head and didn't answer. My luggage was packed quickly. A single large suitcase held all the traces of my 7 years here. I struggled to move the suitcase, following the person leading me toward the door. Just then, Chris suddenly spoke. What else do you want? You can ask for one more thing. I paused, then broke into a grin. Huh? It's cool. We're buddies, no need for all that. Yes, in my heart, I saw Chris less as my alpha lover and more as a really helpful brother. Because I wasn't some authentic, born and bred Omega. I was originally just a regular guy. Maybe God took pity on me, a 28-year-old single IT guy, and dropped me into this world where it felt like you die if you weren't in a relationship. And in this world, it wasn't just about guys and girls dating. There were guys with guys and girls with girls. Oh, dear God. I know you wanted me to find love, but this is a bit much, isn't it? Oh right, people here aren't distinguished by male or female. They use alpha, beta, and omega to differentiate genders. Before this, I used those 3 words all the time, but I never imagined they could be used like this. When I first arrived, I was clueless and afraid to reveal my identity. I could only learn about this world by carefully picking up bits and pieces from other people's conversations. Luckily, my persona in this world was apparently a quiet guy with a stutter, so I just had to hide in a corner and listen to people chat or gossip about me. But I never expected the people here to be so incredibly unhinged. It wasn't until I was lying on a strange bed, my head feeling strangely hot, that I realized I, a grown man, had been drugged. My body was no longer my own, and my vision blurred. Just before I completely lost consciousness, I smelled a strong scent of hard liquor. It made me even dizzier. I managed to reach out and grab the corner of someone's clothes. Help! Help me! When I woke up, my whole body ached, my bones cracking and popping. I groggily stumbled to the bathroom. After cleaning myself up and coming out, I realized there was another man lying in the bed. He must have been the one I grabbed onto last night. Just then, the person in bed slowly woke up. I couldn't help but think, damn, he's handsome, and then clapped him on the shoulder like a good buddy. Thanks for last night, bro. If you ever need anything, just let me know. I'll help you out if I can. The man on the bed gave me a cold glance and didn't say a word. Suddenly, the door was thrown open, and a crowd of photographers armed with cameras swarmed in. They started snapping away, leaving me stunned. But the guy in the bed was completely unfazed, getting up shirtless and heading to the bathroom. I just stared blankly at the crowd. Finally, someone asked me, Mr. Kingston, are you planning to openly defy the Kingston family now? Mr. Kingston, what is your relationship with that alpha? Mr. Kingston, the noise was giving me a headache. I quickly raised my hand. Stop, stop. So I slept in the same bed as a guy for one night. What's the big deal? The people around me went silent for a second, then collectively gasped. Then they started shouting even louder. I was so annoyed I just pushed my way through the crowd and ran. When I got home, I found my things had been thrown out, scattered all over the ground. The old security guard at the gate looked at me with contempt and sneered. Mr. Kingston said that the Kingston family can't afford a shameless Omega like you. You should find opportunities elsewhere. I stood there in the cold air, completely lost. The scene felt so much like a gender-bent, old-school, overbearing CEO romance novel, but I wasn't a lucky Mary Sue protagonist. I could only pack up my pitiful belongings and find a cheap hotel to stay in. As one of the Kingston family's least favored illegitimate sons, I was flat broke. After paying for the room, I barely had enough money for food. I thought about finding a job to support myself, but no one would even hire me for manual labor. They all said the Kingston family had forbidden any company from hiring me, or it would mean going against them. Couldn't help but sigh. This damn Mary Sue world was terrifying. Just when I was at my wit's end, I ran into Chris, the same guy who had helped me that night. Except our reunion wasn't so romantic, it almost landed us on a true crime show. His car nearly clipped me when I was at my most vulnerable. But when I stood up and saw him, I was actually moved. Oh my God. Buddy, how do you always show up when I'm in trouble? Are you an angel? Boo-hoo. He just gave me a cold look and was about to walk away. I immediately dropped back down and hugged his leg. Bro, big bro, you're a good person, please see it through to the end. Okay? Chris's expression was still cold, his voice flat. I'm not your bro. Yeah, I knew that. Then can I call you buddy? Just help me one more time, man. I'll be your loyal servant forever. I was desperate. Chris was the only person in this world who had ever shown me any kindness. So I was holding onto this lifeline for dear life. Chris frowned at me, as if he couldn't comprehend my actions. I have a car. I don't need a servant. Great, what's with this guy? He's even weirder than me. Well, I can do housework, I can cook, I can warm your bed. I stared at him pleadingly, blurting out a list of everything I could do. We were at a standstill in the middle of the street until his assistant had to speak up. Mr. Russell, the banquet your mother arranged for you is about to start. We should get going. Hearing this, Chris's frown deepened. The assistant noticed his mood worsening and quickly added, Mr. Russell, you really can't skip it this time. Your mother and Mr. Russell are very serious about this arranged marriage. Chris closed his eyes, looking irritated. I know. After glancing between the two of them, my brilliant mind kicked in. I immediately stood up and whispered in Chris's ear, You don't want an arranged marriage? I can help you. I looked at him eagerly, my eyes full of hope, but he didn't seem to trust me. You? How? I can pretend to be your omega, and I even know the symptoms of an omega pregnancy. I can fake it perfectly. He was still looking at me hesitantly. I impulsively grabbed his hand. Trust me just this once. It'll be totally worth it, buddy. Fine. I'll give you one chance. If I screw this up, I'll spin in circles and bow down to you. That's not necessary. With my meal ticket secured, I was so excited I completely forgot myself, hopping into his luxury car and waving at him. Get in, come on. In the car, we quickly exchanged information. He even took me to buy a new set of clothes. I kneaded the soft fabric in my hands, marveling at it. Chris glanced at me several times but didn't say anything. I, on the other hand, felt no burden and grinned at him. These clothes you bought are so comfortable and good-looking. It's been so long, no, I've never worn clothes this nice. He hesitated a few times before managing to get a few words out. If you do a good job this time, you can have a few more. I wasn't shy. I thanked him generously. Really? You're such a good person. When we arrived, he got out of the car first. I immediately dropped my carefree attitude, shrinking down and sticking close to Chris's side, even grabbing his sleeve. Feeling his questioning gaze, I had to remind him, pay attention. I'm now your lover who hasn't met the in-laws yet. The poor little Omega who's about to save you from an arranged marriage. You need to protect me, care for me. He stiffened for a moment, then hesitantly took my hand. Ugh, at our age, why are we acting like we're in some pure, innocent romance? Frustrated, I pulled his hand and placed it on my waist. He acted like he'd been burned and almost yanked it away. I hissed and said through gritted teeth, Honey, hold me, will you? What, is our relationship some kind of dirty secret? He seemed stunned by the pet name, his pupils even dilated. But then, he quickly got the hint and pulled me tighter against him. I was relieved. I put on my best startled bunny expression again. looking around with a mix of fear and wonder. Don't mind me. This luxury grade meal ticket was mine for the taking, and I, the new and improved Harry, was going to get it. We walked into the house, and wow, it was filled with a whole spectrum of beauties. If I wasn't currently in character as Chris's little boyfriend, I would have been completely captivated. But Chris clearly had excellent self-control. He just calmly addressed the person in the middle of the sofa. "Mother, I'm here." The elegant, well-preserved woman in the center lifted her eyes, gave a faint and then her sharp gaze landed on me. "Chris, who is this?" I quickly squeezed out a smile and replied cheerfully, Auntia. "My name is Harry, and I'm Chris's boyfriend." The woman didn't respond immediately after hearing my reply. Instead, she scanned me from head to toe several times. Her gaze wasn't friendly, it was less like looking at a person and more like inspecting goods. After a long moment, the woman delivered her verdict. "Chris, you're acting foolishly again." Such a condescending sentence. She didn't take me seriously, nor did she take Chris seriously. But Chris seemed used to it and replied neither humbly nor arrogantly. "Mother, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I do have an Omega now, so as for the arranged marriage, I must refuse." Oh my God. Their conversation was like something out of a cheesy primetime soap opera. I kind of wanted to laugh. What should I do? The woman was clearly getting angry. She slammed her hand on the table. "Insolent. Do you think you have the right to refuse? Kneel." Heavens, there were so many people here and Chris was a grown man. She was just going to make him kneel? Chris knelt. And so did I. I don't know why, but the moment Chris knelt, my knees went weak too. Maybe it was brotherly solidarity, not wanting him to be so embarrassed? Or maybe I was just getting into character. The moment I followed my heart and knelt, 2 thuds echoed on the floor. One was Chris's, the other was mine. Chris heard it and turned to look at me. For some reason, I mouthed to him, "It's okay, I'm with you." Seeing both of us kneeling made the woman even angrier. She grabbed a teacup from the table and threw it at me. I couldn't react in time, but Chris blocked it for me. Truly a man among men, a brother among brothers. I was touched and determined to play this part perfectly for him. I hugged the man in front of me and shouted with abandon, "We're truly in love. Please just give us your blessing." It was a corny move, but it worked. The woman who had been sitting on the sofa finally stood up, losing some of her composure. A no-name Omega, coming to our Russell family to talk about true love? Do you think I'm dead? Forgive me, I really haven't watched many soap operas, so for a moment, I didn't fully understand what she meant. I just stared blankly, but with a lot of confidence, and replied, "I do have a name. My name is Harry." It wasn't until I saw people around us trying to hold back laughter and Chris looking at me speechlessly that I realized my mistake. Oh, she meant I was a nobody in the upper echelons of society. Well, this is awkward. I felt a bit embarrassed and quietly apologized to Chris. "Sorry, my knowledge is a bit limited." Chris shook his head, signaling it was fine. Then he helped me up. "Mother, we are truly in love. And he's already carrying my child." Whoa, that baby came fast. I scrambled to cover my stomach, adopted a frail posture, and collapsed into Chris's arms. Chris's mother's face turned visibly ugly. Just as she was about to say something, I started yelling, "See, Chris, my stomach. It hurts so much." I dramatically clutched his collar, tears streaming down my face. Chris's acting was even better. He swept me up into a princess carry and didn't forget to say his lines before leaving. "Mother, we have to go now. As for the marriage alliance, let's just forget about it." He carried me all the way to the car, setting me down very gently. Once the car had driven out of the estate, my color returned, and I wiped away my tears. Chris then spoke. "Do we need to go to the hospital?" I patted my stomach and smiled at him. "What hospital? There's nothing in my belly but air. I'm perfectly healthy." "Then let's get something to eat." "What do you want?" He catches on so fast. My eyes were practically sparkling. "Anything is fine." Even though I said anything was fine, as I sat in a very fancy-looking restaurant, I was still a bit anxious. A place like this, you probably can't even get full. As expected, the food came in tiny portions. I didn't dare to eat too quickly, afraid that if a piece got stuck in my teeth, I'd have one less bite to eat. I really wasn't full, but I was too embarrassed to say so, especially since the prices here were ridiculously high. I finished eating faster than Chris and then just stared at him eat. Even with my direct gaze on him, Chris ate slowly and elegantly. He even remembered to ask me, "Are you full? Should we order more?" I shook my head against my will. I figured I'd just sneak out for some late-night kebabs later. Knowing I didn't even have a place to live, Chris took me back to his house. "Pick any room you want. I might need your help again with things like today." I patted my chest to show him it was no problem, so I settled in. At midnight, I woke up starving. I tiptoed downstairs, intently searching for nearby restaurants on my phone. Damn it, not a single late-night food stall. I was so focused on my search that I didn't even notice someone was standing in front of me. My head bumped into a solid chest, and I even bounced back a few steps. Rubbing my forehead in a daze, I saw it was Chris blocking my path. The stern-faced man looked a bit intimidating with his brow furrowed. "What are you doing?" I stammered, unable to explain. Was I supposed to admit that the dinner he treated me to didn't fill me up at all? That would be so hurtful to such a nice person. I couldn't sleep. Couldn't sleep? Or is there something on your mind? Harry, stop pretending. Admit it, are you? Okay, I admit it. I wasn't full from dinner, but I'm really grateful you treated me. And it was delicious, but I have a big appetite. I'm so sorry. So he had already guessed. God, my shameless stomach. This is so embarrassing. My face felt hot, and I didn't dare to look at Chris's expression. "You were just foraging for food because you weren't full?" Yup. I looked up at him, and as our eyes met, I realized we had both misunderstood something. You didn't think I was up this late looking for your top secret files or something, did you? So you really were up this late just to find food? Yeah. Really? My stomach rumbled right on cue, giving me more confidence. See? Even if I lie, my stomach can't. With the misunderstanding cleared up, I lost my motivation to go out looking for food. I rummaged through the kitchen, found some noodles and eggs, and started cooking. While eating, I complained to Chris. "Why would you suspect me? I'm all alone, nobody wants me. Even if I had information, who would I give it to? Besides, why would I sell your secrets to someone else? Sticking with you is enough to keep me well-fed and comfortable." I slurped the noodles with gusto, completely lost in the moment. After eating my fill, I slapped the table and made a bold declaration to Chris. "Don't worry, as long as you keep me fed, I will never betray you." Chris looked at me with a helpless expression, then looked away as if he couldn't bear to watch. So ambitious. By the way, your noodles are really good. Can I make another bowl? Go ahead. Eat as much as you want. Alrighty then. What about you? Want some? Me? He looked at me, confused, as if he didn't understand why I would ask. "Yeah, I noticed you didn't eat much tonight either. Want some more? You'll get stomach problems if you don't eat enough." "How did you know I have stomach problems?" "So he really does." I waved my hand, putting on an expert air. "It's a rule of thumb. For every 10 overbearing CEOs, 9 have issues. One's crazy, and the other 8 have stomach problems. It's standard." Where did that rule come from? Is there any scientific basis for it? Nope, all from experience. Let me make you some. If you can't finish it, I'll eat it, okay? I didn't wait for his answer and just made enough for 2. I'd been starving these past 2 days and couldn't stop myself. Chris stood next to me, watching me raid the kitchen for ingredients to add. Will it even be good? Guaranteed. I confidently added things to the pot, occasionally showing off my survival skills to Chris. This guy, Chris, looked imposing and scary. But when he talked and did things, he was like a robot. Methodical, by the book, as if he was running on some program. It was actually kind of interesting. In the end, I didn't get a single bite of noodles from Chris's bowl. He didn't even leave me any broth. But looking at the clean bowl, I felt a sense of pride. See? My skills are just that amazing. It even made me look at Chris with a more affectionate gaze. I propped my chin on my hands and smiled at him. "So, are you full?" Wasn't it delicious? He was still the same, so methodical. Yes, it was good. I raised an eyebrow, feeling quite pleased. But I didn't notice that Chris's gaze on me seemed to last for an unusually long time, with an unusual intensity. Later, a message came from Chris's mother. You can play around with that omega, and the child can be entered into the Russell family registry. But the arranged marriage must also proceed. Cannot be avoided. I pouted 1,000,000% against it. I even hugged Chris right in front of the messenger. Chris, are you just playing with me? Is that it? Honey, say something. The messenger went from arrogant to a little flustered, pretending to look around. Chris just indulgently patted me. I'm not just playing. Don't overthink it. The messenger couldn't help but interject. Mr. Russell, you should know that this is your responsibility as the heir of the Russell family. You cannot evade it. Chris put on a cold expression, looking a bit intimidating. You have no right to speak here. Get out. As soon as the messenger left, I got off Chris, looking a little worried. What do we do? The baby isn't real. We can't keep this up for long. Actually, it could be real. Huh? What did you say? I didn't hear you. Nothing. I said, let's just take it one step at a time. Take it one step at a time. When Chris said that, I never thought that one step would turn into 7 years. During that time, I was pregnant a total of 26 times and had 27 miscarriages. If I could actually give birth, probably all the kids in the local kindergarten would have the last name Russell. I told Chris that using this method over and over again wouldn't work, but who knew? This trick actually kept Mrs. Russell at bay for 7 years. I was numb to it. This Mary Sue world, this terrifyingly effective. For these 7 years, I was always by Chris's side. We had a great relationship. We even helped each other through my heats and his ruts. I was truly grateful to him. If it weren't for him, I couldn't imagine being intimate like that with any other man. Chris, despite being a bit old-fashioned and having a CEO complex, was actually kind, gentlemanly, gentle, and generous. He provided me with work, a place to live, and even taught me how to better survive in this world. But all of that was temporary. As Chris approached the big 3-0, Mrs. Russell finally lost her patience. In the end, Chris couldn't escape the fate of an arranged marriage. He actually tried to hint at it before the engagement. At that time, he was stroking my stomach, his gaze intense, and I was still worrying for him. What are we going to do? We really can't fool them this time. If you don't go through with the marriage, all your years of hard work at the company will be for nothing. He kept stroking my belly, his eyes fixed on it. Actually, there is a way. You could have a real baby. I slapped his hand away, thinking he was still joking. Easy for you to say. Do you know, if someone is willing to have a baby for another person, they must really love them. But I don't love you, and you don't love me. How could I possibly have a real baby for you? The hand on my stomach slowly moved away. He slowly rested his head on my lap. After a long while, he repeated my words. Right, you don't love me. I felt something was off about him, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I could only murmur along with him. Yeah, don't love. Chris ultimately accepted his fate of an arranged marriage, and I moved out of his house. As I left, I looked back, feeling a bit dazed. 7 years. Such a long time. It just ended so lightly. The moving guy was calling for me. I came back to my senses and got into the car without hesitation. It was only 7 years. In a life measured in decades, what does that even count for? Chris didn't come out to see me off, and I didn't wait for him. From now on, we'd go our separate ways. It was better for us to go back to being strangers. I used the money I had to buy an apartment. Combined with the salary I'd saved over the years, it was enough for a corporate drone like me to live well for a while. I quit my job at Chris's company, planning to take some time off. But every time I put 2 servings of food on the table, every time I left space on the other side of the closet when putting away clothes, every time I slept on the inner side of the bed and woke up reaching for someone next to me, I had to admit I didn't seem to be used to living alone anymore. Sometimes, when a sudden craving hit, I'd instinctively open my contacts and tap the PIN number, only to remember that I couldn't just casually call Chris and ask him to bring me snacks anymore. To distract myself, I got a dog, and then a cat, hoping they would fill the void in my life. I was genuinely happy when the dog and cat came to my home, but when I instinctively wanted to send pictures of them to Chris, I became unhappy again. I stubbornly turned off my phone, deciding to start a diary to record my happy moments. But as I wrote, it always turned into this. The cat and dog are so cute. If Chris were here, I wonder if he would like them. With his personality, he's always so calm, never too happy or too sad. I wonder if his fiancée will make him feel any emotions. But it would be good if his fiancée could make him a little happier. I wonder what he's doing right now. Sigh. I miss him so much. I miss Chris so much. When I snapped out of it, the notebook was already filled with his name. My eyes fell on the last line. I miss him so much. I miss Chris so much. Tears began to fall without me realizing. I discovered, and could no longer deny it, I'm screwed. Turns out I love him. My first New Year alone after leaving Chris. I put up the decorations and made dumplings all by myself. I sat on the sofa watching the New Year's Eve show, with my cat and dog curled up beside me. This is happiness, I told myself. Suddenly, fireworks started going off outside. I excitedly put on my coat and took my pets downstairs to watch. The fireworks seemed to be set off not too far from here. They were clear and beautiful. I looked up at the fireworks, then down at my phone. Still no New Year's greeting from Chris. I put my phone away, an indescribable feeling in my heart. After the fireworks, I headed home with the cat and dog, only to find a huge pile of New Year's gifts at my door, along with a card. Happy New Year. There was no name. I took the cat and dog inside first, then stood at the door. If you don't come out and see me now, we'll never see each other again. The light in the hallway flickered on and off, on and off. In the flickering light, I didn't know what I was holding out for. But thankfully, after a few cycles, Chris finally walked down from upstairs. But I just glanced at him and turned to open my door to go home. He called out my name in a panic. Harry. I looked back at him coldly, just like he used to be. What are you doing here? I don't know. I just missed you. I said nothing, mimicking his composure. He came closer, grabbing my sleeve, his head hanging low. I don't know, I really don't. I called off the engagement, and I told my parents I don't want the heir position anymore. I really don't know what's wrong with me, Harry. I just want to be by your side. I want to spend the next 7 years, 17 years, 70 years with you. Harry, Harry. He repeated my name over and over, lost, as if it was the only thing that could calm him down. But I still turned and opened my door. But Chris, even as good buddies, we can't be together forever. Since you chose the arranged marriage before and gave up on me, you must have thought it through. Don't have regrets so easily. Otherwise, I'll just feel like I was an optional backup plan for you. Go back. We've already come this far. We're always missing something. I opened the door, and he instinctively let go of my hand. You're right. I'm sorry. I bothered you. As if in an instant, he was back to being that stoic, perfectly calm, robotic CEO. I went inside and closed the door, sliding down against the back of it. Go back, Chris. What you need isn't a slow, clumsy lover. What you need are resources, a boost, a marriage that brings tangible benefits. I admit I miss him, but the moment he said those words, the ache in my heart outweighed the longing. He was blinded by a temporary sense of dependence, but I could see clearly. He'd gone off track, but I wasn't his proper destination. I was in a terrible mood. I dragged my exhausted body up to start cleaning the mess. My eyes scanned the pile of New Year's gifts Chris had brought, and I struggled for a moment. I definitely had to throw them out, but I just wanted to see what kind of things that little robot would give. My favorite snacks, clothes that fit perfectly, the long johns I never liked to wear. Inside, there was also a note. You still need to wear long johns. It's cold, and you're always trying to act tough. It was so plain, I could almost see his slightly frowning poker face right in front of me. A smile tugged at my lips unconsciously, and then I cursed myself for going soft. I'll just throw it all out so I won't be tempted to change my mind. Secretly keeping the note, I went downstairs and stuffed all the gift boxes into the dumpster. Even though I did what I had to do, when I got back home and sat down, I still felt empty inside. My little dog and cat, sensing my low mood, quieted down on their own. But after a while, my dog started barking on the balcony. I was worried something was wrong, so I hurried over to check. He was fine, but he was barking loudly at a specific spot outside. The snow was coming down harder now, and I couldn't see clearly, only that there seemed to be a figure standing there. Maybe the person saw me too, because they turned and walked away. I couldn't rest easy, afraid it was a thief. So I followed the direction he left in, toward the kitchen. Looking out the kitchen window, the person had stopped in front of the dumpster. The next second, he actually reached his hand right into the trash. A feeling suddenly hit me. I didn't even bother to put on a coat and just ran straight downstairs. By the time I got down, the person was already holding a gift box. One look at his height and I knew who it was. I ran over and grabbed him. "Chris, are you crazy? What are you doing digging in a dumpster? It's so dirty." The man, half covered in snow, looked at me slowly. "I just wanted to see if you took the things I got for you. If you didn't, I'll buy you new ones tomorrow." Frustrated, I cupped his face with my hands, trying to snap him out of it. "Did your brain freeze? Why are you so stubborn?" Chris replied, completely missing the point. "Your hands are cold. Go back inside, don't catch a cold." I got even angrier. "You can tell my hands are cold? Do you have any idea that you're about to become a snowman yourself?" He didn't answer, just kept urging me, "Hurry back inside. You'll get sick." I was so mad I was practically steaming. I crossed my arms and glared at him. He started to reach for me, but his hand froze midway. He pulled it back and awkwardly wiped it on his coat a couple of times. "My hands are dirty. I can't touch you. You should go back inside. I'll leave now, I won't be an eyesore." He turned, his steps a bit unsteady, clearly frozen stiff. I grabbed him before he could leave, feeling a bit helpless. "Where are you going? Chris, you really have no idea how to woo someone, do you?" He turned back, looking at me with a mix of confusion and hope. He seemed incapable of looking away, only able to stare straight at a person. When two people look at each other like that, the one who fell first always surrenders first. I sighed, deciding to follow my heart for once. But just as I was about to speak, I heard him say, "Harry, can I kiss you?" I looked at him in disbelief. That didn't sound like something he would say on his own. He pressed his lips together, seeming a little surprised himself for having said it. "I'm sorry." I spoke without thinking again. There was nothing to hesitate about. I tilted my chin up and leaned in. My mouth first touched the cool snow, and then his cool lips. It was just a brief touch. From now on, remember to let your actions speak faster than your brain, not your words. That's the only way to win someone over, you know? I don't know if he could win over anyone else, but it was enough to win me over. Who would have thought that to like someone, I'd have to be the one to teach him how to chase me? But he was a fast learner. He opened his coat, wrapped me inside, and then kissed me. He carefully warmed my lips with his first, and then, did a little more than just a simple peck. When the kiss ended, I rested my head on his chest, catching my breath. Who knew he would suddenly ask, "Harry, have you lost weight? Are you skipping breakfast again?" I shot him a look, a little annoyed at what a hopeless romantic he was. I stepped out of his embrace and walked into the lit hallway. There were no footsteps behind me. I looked back, and he was still standing by the dumpster. His clothes were all messy from me, and he was still covered in snow. He looked like an abandoned puppy. I sighed and called out to him, "What are you standing there for? Come on, let's go home." He practically ran to my side. "Were you calling me? Am I allowed to come in? What? You think my place is too small? I guess this apartment isn't as big as yours. But, Chris, if you're willing to move in, I think it's good enough to be a home for us. What do you think?" As I said the last part, I tried to sound casual, but honestly, I was a little nervous, my palms sweating. Chris came to his senses and took my hand in his, seeming a bit nervous too. "We can have a home together? Of course we can. Forget it. To hell with what's appropriate or not. Let 1,000 people search for what makes sense. I just want one sincere heart that even a blizzard can't bury." Bonus chapter. Chris's POV. In the predetermined program, I was supposed to get into a messy relationship with Harry because of a setup. He would threaten me to be his protector, and I would use him to fend off the pressure to get married. He would chase after me relentlessly because of my status, and I would grow increasingly tired of him. In the end, unable to stand it anymore, I would accept the marriage arranged by my parents and fall in love with my Omega wife after marriage. But, although things did proceed according to the program, I still want to ask, what is love? I stand beside my fiancé, but I can't help but think, what is Harry doing? Is he doing okay? Is he eating well and staying warm? Is anyone bullying him again? Is this what it means to love my fiancé? I don't understand. I search meticulously through every little memory. I remember the scene where Harry threatened me to be his protector. He was comically fake crying, but what I saw were his thin clothes and his pale, ashen face. I remember his triumphant, vibrant expression when he helped me fend off the marriage meeting. I remember how he was always so carefree and happy-go-lucky. I remember how he always waited for me to come home. I remember when I was about to follow the program and agree to my parents' demand to kick him out, I habitually called him to check in. He didn't know anything and cheerfully wished me good night. And because of that one good night, I inexplicably refused my parents' command. I remember when he touched my wound and asked if it hurt. I remember when I finally had to part with him, I subconsciously said to him, "What else do you want? You can ask for one more thing." What I was really thinking then was, if he had just said he wanted me, I would have thrown everything away and left with him. But he didn't ask for me. He left without any hesitation. Whether I love Harry or not, I still can't say for sure. But I think he probably doesn't love me. After he left, I didn't disturb him, because I thought he probably didn't want to see me again. But I always find myself unconsciously walking near his home. Sometimes I see him walking his dog. Sometimes he's playing with his cat. The longer I watch, the more I can't help but think, I wish I wasn't Chris. I wish I wasn't some main character, didn't have privileged conditions, and didn't have to live a tedious life according to a program. I would just be Harry's little dog or cat. I wouldn't have to think about anything, just as long as I could belong to him, stay by his side. I can't figure it out. The more I look at him, the stronger the impulse to walk over to him becomes. So I betrayed the program. For once, I let my heart follow Harry. I still don't know what love is, but I think in the years and years I spend with Harry, I will come to understand.